Hello, I'm Kristen Oaks-White. Avery Davidson is out on assignment. Well, we are now past the peak season for crawfish consumption in Louisiana with the end of the Lenten season. Some crawfish processors in the state have seen a more than 90% decrease in crawfish since last year. TWILA's Avery Davidson shows us what help is out there for those in the crawfish industry and why it might not be enough.
Crawfish traps remain mostly empty for some farmers who chose to continue the catch despite the challenges of this season. Crawfish farmers like Keely Ana.
The drought is the challenge. We crawfish, right now we're crawfishing just about every other day because we're really not pulling in much. I think the highest since we started crawfishing, the most pounds we crawfished was 30 pounds this whole season. And that's on 35 acres.
Fontenot says this is her first year raising crawfish in Evangeline and St. Landry parishes. Not the best year to get started. She and other folks involved in the crawfish industry attended this workshop organized by Congressman Troy Carter, where farmers, processors, and retailers could learn about low-interest loans available through the U.S. Small Business Administration now that there's a disaster declaration in place. SBA Deputy District Director Joanne Lawrence says applicants can receive a low-interest loan to help cover up to 6 months of expenses that they can pay back over 30 years.
So for the economic injury disaster loan, the maximum assistance is $2 million, and that will be based upon that individual business's financial documents. So we'll look at the tax returns, we'll look at what their liabilities are, and we'll look at what their monthly receipts are. That will help us determine how much they'll be eligible to receive. These are working capital loans, so they're intended to meet those immediate financial needs that they have.
For Fontenot, that might not be enough.
So although the loans are great, for right now it's a Band-Aid fix, but grants, would be best. Like, I feel like grants would be best for the crawfish farmers right now, because what if we go through another drought this year? We're supposed to, so what if that affects us even more? So getting the loans to help the situation right now is the Band-Aid fix of it all, but we have to pay that back. So, it's just a Band-Aid fix for us.
The Louisiana Farm Bureau Federation continues to work with the state's congressional delegation to effect changes in USDA rules so crawfish farmers can get disaster assistance. Well, there's now a bill before the Louisiana legislature that would call for a constitutional convention that would begin before the regular Louisiana legislative session would end. Representative Beau Boyer of New Iberia filed House Bill 800, which would call for a constitutional convention to convene the evening of May 20th and adjourn by July 15th. According to the bill, all 105 members of the House, all 39 members of the Senate, and 27 people appointed by Governor Jeff Landry would serve as delegates. There is language in the bill designed to limit the changes delegates could make to the current Constitution. However, Louisiana Farm Bureau Legislative Specialist Joe Mapes said on the Louisiana Farm Bureau podcast that delegates can make changes to any article once in the convention.
When you open one main article, every sub-article is open, so you can say that. You can say, okay, here's the rules, okay? But guess what? When everybody figures out, hey, I can go into any sub-article I want and pass any bill I want or offer any bill that I want, that's going to change everything.
The current Louisiana Constitution, adopted in 1974, was the state's 11th Constitution. Louisiana is tied with Georgia for the most constitutions in a state's history. To hear more from Mapes, listen to the Louisiana Farm Bureau podcast wherever you get your podcast. Well, Farm Bureau future leaders recently spent time at the state capitol during the legislative session to get a front row seat at the work lawmakers are doing to improve their industry. This crop of nearly a dozen young farmers and ranchers spent the day in and out of committee rooms hearing potential legislation being discussed. They met with Ag Chair Troy Romero and lobbyist Joe Mapes. For many in this group, this is their first opportunity to see up close how our state government functions.
It's very important. Being in ag, I never thought I'd get the opportunity to come here. So I'm taking it all in, learning, and seeing how all the laws get passed and how I can advocate for agriculture.
The 2024 legislative session adjourns on June 3rd. It was not a good week to be a clay pigeon in North Louisiana. Hunters, shooters, and everyone in between packed their shells and shotguns to the annual Farm Bureau Sporting Clays Shootout in Benton. TWILA's Josh Meeks followed along as more than 100 people competed for first prize.
The air here is literally spicy with gunpowder. Now, while everyone is shooting at the clay, the aim is to raise money for a good cause. Just as the sun starts to peek through the trees, the clay starts flying.
We have a beautiful day. The weather's unbelievable. The people, the families, the children are doing a great sporting activity. We're raising money. We're talking about the Farm Bureau. I can't imagine anything any better.
Dozens of teams from across the state, many of them kids in the 4-H program, have been practicing all year for this. At each station, you get 6 shots. Best score wins. These kids make it look easy. Louisiana Farm Bureau First Vice President Marty Woolridge says this is one of the biggest turnouts they've had in years.
So I think we shot 28 teams today, 28 times 4. I'll let y'all do the math. Pretty good turnout for us, but not only is a turnout of 28 teams with today, I think we had about 20 of those teams were all 4-H kids. They, up to about 12th graders, but from 4th grade up and whatnot. But, we've got all the volunteers that work, the coaches, the parents coming out. It's a huge family function.
And you can see it on their faces. The joy of getting 2 hits in a row and the disappointment of a miss. But each shot is a lesson in patience and focus. Woolridge says tournaments like this are meant to enrich the ag experience, especially in an industry that comes with its fair share of struggles.
Nationwide, we're dealing with less than 2%. We're nearing sadly, the 1% mark of families, citizens of the United States being involved in agriculture. And Farm Bureau, we're always trying to tell the story of the agricultural industry, what we do, how we help to feed the nation, how we're protecting the environment, the water that we drink, the air that we breathe. We're trying to do everything right so that we are all still here. And so just like we're talking about these children today, we're protecting this industry in our state so that our children have that choice. If they want to stay on the family farm and make a go of it, make a living, and raise their families on the farm.
So on top of admissions fees, there was also a raffle which included 2 long guns and a pistol, all to raise money for the Louisiana Farm Bureau Foundation, as well as the Ag in the Classroom Foundation. Reporting from Benton, Louisiana, for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, I'm Josh Meeks.
Congratulations to everyone who placed, as well as this year's raffle winners. Well, the summer humidity is already creeping in, and it's only going to get muggier as things start to warm up. Nick Mikulis joins us now with this week's Farmer's Forecast. Nick?
Thank you, Kristen. It is going to be a busy start to the week with a lot of rainfall, possibly some severe weather, but then we have improving conditions by the end of the week. Also, the drought is officially gone. Let's take a look at things. Lots to talk about here in this forecast. Here's your drought monitor. We have some abnormally dry conditions, but we do not officially have a drought reading anymore in the state. It looks like that moderate drought is gone, and with this rain that's coming in, I think the abnormally dry stuff's going to go away as well. So we are looking much better than we have for months, and it's thanks to a lot of rain falling here in the last couple of months. You can see most areas are around normal or above normal. Down toward Houma, southeastern Louisiana, Terrebonne Parish, you've been a bit drier, but it looks like more rain is coming for you. In fact, this is what we're looking at here for the next several days. It looks like this is going to fall in the first half of the week, but 2 to maybe 5 inches of rain up there in northeastern Louisiana. Unfortunately, it does look like that drier area is going to be in the area that hasn't seen much rain lately, but they don't have any sort of dry or drought classification down that way, so doing a little bit better. But if you had planned on getting out in the fields early in the week, it looks like we're going to have a lot of mud to deal with and some severe weather as well. This is an analog we're looking at that shows similar conditions over many, many model runs, and this is looking at early next week. And I took off exactly what all this means, because what it means for us in a general sense is that the chance for severe weather is going to pop up maybe as soon as Monday, but I really think Tuesday into Wednesday is is when we're looking at some active stuff. Also, for the rest of April, it looks like an above normal rainfall is going to be in store for us down here in the Deep South. Louisiana looks like plenty of rain to go around here, so I don't see the drought coming back anytime soon. As we shift into a La Nina, that's going to be good for some rainfall, but it also means that we could potentially see an active hurricane season, and we'll be watching for those forecasts in the coming days. Back to you, Kristen.
Thanks, Nick. Agritourism helps farmers generate revenue from recreational and educational activities like pick your own fruit and vegetable programs. Luckily for us, we have many of these right around the corner. TWILA's Keely Ana Strickland takes us to Albany to see how the season is going at one of Louisiana's most popular strawberry patches.
Strawberry season is in full swing, and students from across the state are traveling to check out Miss Heather's patch. For over 20 years and counting, Miss Heather's strawberry patch has been a field trip hotspot. Owner Heather Hughes says there's nothing more heartwarming than seeing big smiles on the kids' faces.
You know, it's not about the adults, it's about the kids. The kids come first for us, you know. Everything is about what the kids want to do.
Hughes cultivates an environment that's not only full of fun, but also educational. She says that kids are always listening and learning despite what adults may think. In fact, Hughes says many times it's the kids coming up with new ideas for the patch.
I had 2 little boys here yesterday, they're homeschooled, and they were just telling me all kind of other things that I needed to do to add to the things. They said, you need a fishing pond and you need to do this and so we can go fish, you know, and so, you know, even they give you little ideas, you know, that you can do.
Not only does agritourism benefit the economy, it also enriches the lives of students and parents alike. Arnold Thomas visited Miss Heather's strawberry patch on a field trip with his son Caleb's elementary school.
The strawberries have to be juicy, sweet, and delicious.
You know, this is such an integral part of our culture here in Louisiana, the agricultural side, and, you know, it's key that the students get this experience, especially if they are not getting that on the home front. It's great that the school is exposing them to these types of experiences as well.
In addition to being a father, Thomas is also an assistant principal and speaks from an educator's perspective. Thomas is grateful for experiences like these that kids can't get from an iPad or a chalkboard.
I think that field trips are twofold. It serves as an experience for them to be able to get out and enjoy themselves, but there's always that educational component that's tied to it as well.
Let's go!
Thomas explains that trips to museums are great, but there is something unique about immersing children in agriculture.
But then you have these types of experiences that are more hands-on, and they can get into kind of the rich tradition of the agricultural impacts of our state and what that brings to our state.
Reporting from Albany, Louisiana for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, I'm Keely Ana Strickland.
Now, April is prime time for strawberry picking in Louisiana, and Miss Heather already has a plentiful crop this season. So be sure to go visit her soon and fill up your bucket. Still to come on TWILA, Beyonce knows it's girls who run the world, and these women know it too. We'll meet the ladies making big strides in agriculture.
You're watching This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week.
We think about food a lot in Louisiana, and people from all over the world come here for it. It's also important to think about the people that make that food and support them. The Louisiana Farm Bureau's new Farm to Table Committee is designed to do that. They recently held their first committee meeting in Baton Rouge, outlining their goals. They elected committee chairs and had guest speakers to help train farmers on established programs. Washington Parish farmer Grant Estrada was elected chair of the committee. He says the time is now to help small farmers and those seeking to sell directly to consumers.
I think the consumers need to know is that there is an entire population of professional farmers who are growing, raising high quality foodstuffs that they could buy, that they could sell to the consumer, that the consumers can then buy, you know, from meat, eggs, dairy, to produce and vegetables. There's just a lot of resources. There's a lot of benefits to the consumer out there. They just need to be able to, the farmers need to be able to find the consumers, and the consumers need to be able to find the farmers, and that bringing those groups together is also going to be one of the missions of the committee.
According to the latest U.S. Department of Agriculture's Ag Census, there are more than 42,000 producers in Louisiana planting and harvesting crops, feeding livestock, and doing the work to put food on our tables. Of those producers, more than a third of them are women. As TWILA's Karl Wiggers shows us, many of those ladies recently gathered to network, share ideas, and grow at the Louisiana Women in Agriculture Conference.
In this room are leaders, mothers, wives, entrepreneurs, farmers, ranchers, makers, all here to learn and network with others just like them. Danielle Yerby is the director of Louisiana Women in Agriculture. She's thrilled with the turnout for this year's event.
This year's attendance has been great. We have been busting at the seams. We were at max capacity for our registration. The Expo Center could not have been more full.
Lauren Bro is on the board behind this great event. She says the expo space is great for the networking part of what LWAG is all about.
So the expo space is always a lot of fun. There are live animals, there's a lot of tasting and sampling demos going on, and it's just a really great resource for finding what helps you do your job better.
As women, we're used to wearing many hats and juggling so many things, whether it's our families, our kids, our career, carting after children, carting after things on the farm, and our different aspects of our family. And that relates to agriculture because we're doing more with less resources, and whether that resource is equipment, whether it's employees, whether it's finances. So those two things just kind of interweave each other and go hand in hand.
Bro first came to this conference in 2019. She says that conference changed the way she approached her role on her farm.
And when I came to Louisiana Women in Agriculture, I was inspired, I was motivated, I was empowered. I came back a completely different person and chose to take myself out of that support staff role and work right alongside my husband at Cockeyed Farms to make it the best thing that we can give back to the community, to grow our family, and to grow regenerative agriculture in the state of Louisiana. Louisiana Women in Agriculture is a sisterhood of motivation and inspiration. We are a network of resources. We lift each other up and we encourage each other, and it is my favorite conference of the year.
Reporting from Alexandria, I'm Karl Wiggers for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture.
Now, if you're a woman working in agriculture and would like to learn more or get plugged into this organization, visit our website at twilatv.org and we'll get you connected. Still to come on TWILA, 3 words: Madagascar hissing cockroach. Not for the squeamish. Stick around. This year, 3 big names were added to the Louisiana Agriculture Hall of Distinction. This week, we take a look at the work done by Dr. Ralph Abraham.
Growing up just inside Richland Parish, near the Franklin Parish line, Ralph Abraham was surrounded by crops and animals. This early introduction to the farming life helped shape a career that included being a vet, a doctor, a helicopter pilot, a congressman, and now Secretary of the Louisiana Department of Health.
It influenced me early, certainly pushed me toward a career in veterinary medicine. But as we all know, farming in any community, but especially in a Louisiana community, it's the heartbeat of everyone. It's difficult, and most people, unless they've lived that life, they have no clue what it takes to put a crop in the ground, raise a calf from a cow. It's hard. I can't stress how important it was for me growing up in that type of environment.
Becoming a veterinarian was a good fit for Abraham. Caring for animals was an acquired and necessary skill for him on the farm, and he was good at it.
We had to do it on ourselves. Money was always an issue, and of course, back in those days, you just tried to do it yourself. And so we learned how to do it, and I developed a passion for helping that particular animal, and somewhat had a knack for it, so that's where I went.
Seeing the lack of medical care for people in his rural community, Abraham set his sights on becoming a family doctor. He went from taking care of pets to caring for their owners.
You know, I've never really met anybody that wanted to be poor. I've never met anybody that wanted to be unhealthy. But unfortunately in Louisiana, we sometimes have both of those in the same individual. So that's something that I noticed, latched on to, and said, hey, maybe we can also make an impact in our local community. And that's why I went back into the human field, and I certainly enjoy that too.
The next challenge taken on by Abraham was being elected congressman for the 5th Congressional District, the largest agricultural district in the country.
When a farmer or rancher would call with an issue, whether it be a natural disaster or something maybe not quite as severe, they understood that I understood what they were talking about. Yeah, we talk the same language. We've got to protect our farmers, our ranchers, our growers, our cattlemen, you name it. If they touch agriculture, and so many people do, they need to have a seat at the table.
One of his largest tasks in Washington was ushering in a new farm bill.
Like any large project, you keep just treading the water and it eventually comes together. So it's truly a marathon process to put any bill together, but when you're talking about the farm bill, because it touches everyone's life in one form or another, it's a pretty massive undertaking, but we got it done.
If Ralph Abraham would have grown up in the 15th century, he would almost certainly be considered a Renaissance man. But tonight, he's being lauded for a truly remarkable career and is one of the newest inductees into the Louisiana Agriculture Hall of Distinction.
For me, it's one of my most distinct honors. In Congress and all through my life, we've had a few things thrown at us, awards and honors, but this is probably one of the top one or two. Again, I go back to where my roots are as a child, and from that child to now an older adult, to have this award bestowed on me, it's a big deal for me.
Now for the TWILA Boost, a little something at the end of our show to make you smile. Avery might not be here this week, but that's not stopping him from exploiting his children on television. At least he's doing it for a worthwhile cause. You see, he took his sons Luke and Logan to Ag Magic in Baton Rouge. And each year, the LSU Ag Center and volunteers turn the Parker Coliseum into an ag-forward, hands-on educational experience. And boy, did Avery's boys put their hands on everything. Luke picked up an alligator from the swim tank, and of course his little brother Logan had to hold one and tickle it under the chin. It wasn't long before Luke moved on to holding the Madagascar hissing cockroach and a mealworm that he wanted to bring home. He didn't. Then it was time to feed the dairy calf and hold baby chicks. Luke and Logan were just two of thousands of school children who go through Ag Magic and walk away with a better understanding of agriculture. Thanks to the LSU Ag Center for putting together such a wonderful experience. Well, that does it for this edition of TWILA. Be sure to join us next week when we'll take you to a Louisiana vineyard planting what will become its next batch of wines. Until then, you can watch all of our stories online at twilatv.org, and be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. You can also find all of these stories and more on our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications so you know exactly when we put out new content. For all of us here at TWILA, thanks for joining us. We hope to see you again right here next week.